Did you know that when porn bans roll out, VPN usage can skyrocket by over 400%? According to a 2019 study by the Journal of Cyber Policy, countries like India saw this exact phenomenon after banning hundreds of adult sites. And now, as of January 2025, nations like Indonesia, Uganda, and Saudi Arabia are doubling down with the strict new bans. But here's the kicker. Psychologists warn that this might be doing the opposite of what these governments intend. The human brain is a rebellious machine, and when it's told, no, you can't, it replies, oh, really? Watch me. Today, we're unpacking the science of why porn bans often backfire and what this means for society. The forbidden fruit effect, the science. Let's start with the facts. In psychology, there's a principle called the forbidden fruit effect. It's not some Freudian metaphor. This is hardcore behavioral science. When something is restricted, our brain assigns it more value. Why? Because our brains are wired to crave autonomy. Dr. Jack Brehm's reactance theory in 1966 explains that when people feel their freedoms are threatened, they act out to restore control. A 2020 study published in Addiction Research and Theory found that after online porn bans, 63% of participants reported an increased desire to consume explicit content. Let that sink in. Bans aren't decreasing curiosity, they're amplifying it. Current events. Fast forward to today, Indonesia, with over 275 million people, has enforced one of the largest porn bans in history. Uganda followed, citing moral preservation. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia tightened its already stringent policies. These nations argued that bans reduce addiction, improve public morality, and decrease sexual violence. But here's where the data throws a curveball. According to a 2023 report from the Internet Governance Forum, after such bans, VPN usage increased by 200 to 400%. Searches for how to bypass restrictions spiked by 23% in countries like Indonesia. Dark web traffic related to adult content rose by 16 to 20%. Translation: people aren't quitting, they're just finding new ways to indulge. The real life impact. Picture this, a 30-year-old man in Jakarta, he's a casual porn viewer. Post-ban, his curiosity skyrockets. His buddies are trading VPN tips, and suddenly he's spending hours figuring out how to bypass restrictions. What started as occasional viewing becomes a daily quest, ironically driven by the ban itself. This isn't rare. It's human psychology in action. Bans often make people obsess over what's been taken away. The side effects, helpful or harmful? Here's where it gets tricky. Some argue that reduced access to porn encourages healthier habits like improved focus and stronger relationships. Fair point, but there's another side. Frustration and shame. A 2021 study in sexual addiction and compulsivity showed that abrupt restrictions often lead to guilt or binge behaviors. Escalation risk. Without mainstream porn, some users turn to illegal or extreme content, a dangerous rabbit hole. Substitution addictions. Men might replace porn with excessive gambling, gaming, or social media, creating a new set of problems. Simply put, bans treat the symptom, not the cause. What's next? So, what's the alternative? Experts like David Dr. Lay, author of The Myth of Sex Addiction in 2014, argue that open conversations and education work better than prohibition. Addressing why people turn to porn, stress, loneliness, or boredom is key. Therapy, mindfulness, and social support can help men channel these needs in healthier ways. Closing thoughts. Porn bans might sound like a moral victory, but human behavior is far too complex for quick fixes. If anything, they highlight how much more we need to understand about addiction, intimacy, and autonomy.